Hey, how's it going, guys? Alright, so in this video, we're going to learn how to use Google Photos API in Python. If you're a photographer and uses Google Photos to back up your media files like photos and videos, then you'll definitely find many use cases using Google Photos API. Now, some of the use cases using Google Photos API, such as you can automate your photos backup from various sources, or you can perform mass update like renaming the files, renaming the albums, and so on. And for me personally, I tend to use Google Photos API to upload my photos from a variety of sources like OneDrive, Google Drive, and etc. And one of the recent projects that I have done for one of my clients was that we use facial recognition API to tag different individuals in around 10,000 photos. Now, if we look at the agenda here, I want to go over the quota limit. So I already covered the use cases. With the Google Photos API, you get 10,000 requests per project per day. That means if you have 5 projects, then you can make 50,000 requests in a day. And that's going to be for the library API. Now, if I'm uploading photos or videos, then that's going to be another quota. In that case, that's going to be 75,000 requests per project per day. Now let's dive into Google Cloud Console. So we're going to enable the Photos API, and I should move this to here. So navigate to console.cloud.google.com. And if you're a new user, simply create an account and it's free. Then you want to create a new project. So you can click on the drop down and click on new project and follow the instructions to create a new project. To enable the Photos API, click on navigation menu. Then want to go to APIs and services. Then click on library. Here we're going to search for Google Photos. And it should be the first one, Photos Library API. Now clicking into the API and make sure that the API is enabled for your project. Now we need to go back to the console. Now we need to create an OAuth2 account. So go back to APIs and services. Then want to click on credentials. On the top, click on create credentials and choose OAuth client ID. All right, so here we need to choose the application type. Now for local development, we can use desktop app. And I'll name the client as Photos API client and create. Now we need to download the OAuth2 client file. So click on download JSON. Now name the file. Let's do service account. Now, just in case, if you lost the file somehow, simply go back to the account. So simply click into the account and click on Add Secrets. Oh, I actually don't need to do that. So here you can re-download the JSON file. Now at this point, we're done with downloading the client file, as well as enable the API. Now we need to install the Google Python packages. All right, so go in the launch your terminal. And there are 2 libraries that we need to install. One is the Google OAuth lib library. And the other one is going to be Google API Python client. And enter. And once you install the packages, we can move on to the script development. Now, for this lesson, I'm going to show you how to do three things. I'll show you how to list all the albums in your account, how to upload photos to an album, and let me add one more, how to delete photos in an album. And I think these four examples are going to cover 80 to 90% of the use cases. All right, so go ahead and create a new Python script. And let's name the file demo1.py. I created a module called Google APIs. And let's look at the module first. Inside the module, I have two functions. One function is this create service function. So this is the function that I use to create different Google APIs client instances, like Google Sheets, Slide, YouTube, Google Drive, and so on. And the other function is used to convert RFC timestamp to datetime object. Now, if you want to connect to multiple accounts, you can assign a prefix to the client instance. So when you create a client instance or service instance, you can assign a prefix to identify the account. Now let's dive into example one. We're going to list all the albums in an account. All right, so we're going to import the create service function. Then we need to define the location. And let's call this variable client secret file. And it's going to be the file path to the service account file. And actually, let me name this to client account. Client account. I think that'll be more appropriate because service account is for something else. Then we need to define the API name, API version, and the scopes that I want to connect to the API. In this case, we're going to connect to the Photos Library API, followed by the version. And once we define the API name, API version, and the scopes, we can create the Photos Library service instance. Now let me go ahead and run this code block to create the service object. Now because this is my first time authenticating my account, I'm going to choose my account. On this page, you want to click on Advanced, then click on this link to proceed. Now here we want to grant permissions to the app. And the permission sets here are determined by the scopes that you specify in the script. Then want to click on Continue. And once the app is authenticated, it's going to create a folder to store the token file under this token files folder. And the reason why we have this token file is because next time when you run the app, you don't need to re-authenticate your account again. The app is going to use this file to load the access token. Now, if you need to change to a different account, simply delete this file, and it's going to prompt you to re-authenticate. In that case, you can choose a different account. Or you can provide a prefix when you create the service object. To list all the albums in your account, under the Photos Library object instance, and let's go to the documentation first. Under reference, want to go to albums. And I'll link the link in the description below. And let's go into list method. So under the list method, we have three parameters: page size, and we can set how many items we can fetch per API request. Now, if there are additional photos or albums that we need to retrieve, then we need to provide page tokens from the request response. Then we have this optional parameter, exclude non-app created data. All right, so I'm actually going to, yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to set the page size to 10. So that'll fetch 10 items at a time. And I'll do the same thing here as well. The reason why I want to do that is because I want to show you how to iterate all the batches to get all the albums. So if I go ahead and run this code block, actually let me run the first code block. Now because I have more than 10 albums, I think I might have more than 10 albums. In that case, from the response object, there'll be a next page token available. Then I can retrieve the page token. Oh, in this case, I may have less than 10 albums. But assuming that I have more than 10 albums, I'll basically run the same method again, except that I will provide the page token to the page token parameter. Then I'll append the albums to the albums list and repeat the process until the next page token is not presented. Then I can go ahead, print the album's metadata, like the album ID, album title, and how many media items is in the album. So if I go ahead and run this loop, and these are all my albums in my account. Now let's move on to example 2. Now we're going to create a new album. So here I'm going to take this code block right here. When you're connecting to Google Photos API, the service object creation is always going to be the same. To create an album, we need to define the album's title. And let's go to the documentation on the create. If we look at the album's objects field, and these are the properties that you can define. Now I think everything else everything else is going to be read-only, except cover photo media item ID. So this property is used to set the cover photo for the album. And for now, we're just going to give the album a name. And to create an album, we're going to reference the album's resource that I create. And from the body parameter, we're going to provide this request body dictionary object that I execute. Now I can run the code block to create the album. Now if I go back to my account, if I refresh the page, and under albums, and right here's my album's album. Now if I click into the album, if we look at the URL address, so I just want to point out that this is not the album's ID. The album's ID is going to be the ID created by the API. So if I print the response object, this is the album's ID. So if we compare the album's ID from the URL, you'll notice that these two IDs are completely different. All right, so here I'm going to manually assign the album's ID to a variable. Now I want to upload a couple photos to the album. Now let me copy over the media files. All right, so if I go into my resource folder, I have photos and I also have a couple of videos. Now I want to write a procedure to upload all the media files in this folder here. Now uploading photos, actually not photos, uploading media files is a little bit tricky with Google Photos API. Unfortunately, we cannot use the Photos client library to upload media files. Instead, we need to make request codes using REST API basically. All right, so here I need to install the HTTPX library. You can also use requests library. To upload media files, so first we need to define the folder where the media files are located. And it's going to be in the resource folder on my PC. Then we need to load the authentication token, and the access token is located inside the token file. So if we open the file, so this is the file that is created when we authenticate our account. And an access token is going to get generated. And we need to pass this token to be able to upload media files. And that's what I meant by it can be a little bit tricky to upload media files. Then we're going to iterate each file in the resource folder. So if we look at this loop right here, so first we need to specify the headers. Inside the headers object, we need to provide the access token. Then we need to specify the content type. The X Google upload file name property is going to be used to define the file name. Then we need to set the upload protocol to raw. Then we need to load the image as binary. Then we can make a post request to the photos library.googlesapis.com to this uploads endpoint. Then we'll provide the headers and the image as binary. Now this is going to be the first step. So when you make a post request to this endpoint here, it's going to return a token. And we need to pass that token to another API call. And we need to pass that token to the album's endpoint. So here we need to define the media items property. And this is going to be the description that, actually, let's go back. So description is going to be so description is going to be the description in the invoice page. So this will be your description. And to upload the image, we need to supply the image token to the simple media items key. Then we can create the request body and we'll provide the album's ID. We want to upload the media file. Then we can specify the media item to the new media items key. So here we can actually insert multiple media items. And if we go to the documentation, and the max item is 50 items per batch. But for now, I'm going to just upload them individually. Then can use the media items resource batch create method. Then I'll set the body with request body's dictionary object that execute. Now if I run the loop and let me go ahead and create my access token, and I need to import a JSON library. Okay, now let me try again. So I'm going to create these two items. Then I'm going to iterate each media item in my resource folder. And I haven't defined my album's ID. All right, let's try again. Now it's uploading my media files. And once all the media files are uploaded, and I should have used 50 items per batch, but it's okay. Now if I go back to my album's album, and I can refresh the page, and I should see all the photos and videos got uploaded to my album's album. Now let's delete all the media files in the album. And I'll grab this code block right here. And I'll delete these lines. Now to delete media files, first we need to retrieve all the media items ID. And we can do that using media items.search method. Now there are other features that you can use to perform the search. Should be under media items. If we go into filters option, these are all the filter types that you can use. You can search the media items by date range, by content media type, such as video files or image files. You can even use the features filter that basically includes whether if you favor the photos or not. So one of the other. And don't forget that you can use a combinations of features to perform the search. But for now, I just want to retrieve all the media files in the album. So I'll go ahead and run this loop right here to retrieve all the media items ID. If I print media items, I'm going to get a list of dictionaries. And from there, I can iterate the files in batches this time. I'm going to group the items in batches, so 50 items per batch. Then I can iterate each batch. Then I just need to supply the media items ID. And using albums that batch remove media items method, we just need to specify the albums ID and the request body. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete all my photos. And I'll go back, refresh the page, and my album is now empty. So unfortunately, you cannot delete an album using the API. If you want to delete albums or an album, you'll need to manually delete the albums one by one. So this concludes this tutorial, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.